Good morning. My name is Tracy Justice, and I am the Be Bold Coach and Consultant. I help leaders do two things. Number one, I help leaders lead with a Be Bold mindset. And that Be Bold mindset is about taking a bold chance on yourself, your ideas, so that you live life feeling aligned to life's purpose, right? The purpose that God has called you for. And then number two, I help leaders leverage that new awareness, that new way of being, and leverage that to lead, build, and sustain diverse, inclusive, anabolic teams. And it's all done through energetic awareness. Now, I've always been asked this question, so I think I always want to be clear with this, is why leaders? Why do I work with leaders specifically? I believe that leaders are in a position today, especially today, in a place where not only are they leading themselves, they are leading other people. Sometimes, most of the times, the decisions that they make can cause a great impact in other people's lives. And so I want to work with those leaders that know that they're called to do something bigger and something greater. And sometimes that's just about being bold, about knowing who you are. And so that's why it's with leaders. And so something else that I do want to show as well. You know what's really funny with this? Welcome to the Bold Life Livecast, the test drive series, before I get into talking about the Bold Move Challenge. It's something because even though, this is my fifth episode, right? Even though this is my fifth episode, I still get the jitters. And what's awesome about that, well, I'll say what's awesome about that is that I've listened to a lot of speakers and podcasters, and they say the same thing. Before they go live, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times they've done this. You get the jitters. And I think that that's just, that's just a testament to allowing God to have his way. But in this process, in the Be Bold mindset, I also want to talk about the Energy Leadership Index Assessment. Now, this is a tool that I use, and it's one of my favorite tools because we're talking about energy, right? I work with your energy behind the things that you do. And this is a great tool to capture that. It provides a baseline of where you are, how you show up energetically. And we use that to start as a baseline so that we can have our conversations about how you want to show up, how you want to live the bold life. So if you want to learn more about the Be Bold Mindset session, go to my website, www.beboldbu.com, and schedule your complimentary 45-minute session. Okay, so let's talk about the Be Bold. Well, let's talk about the Bold Move Challenge. Now, remember, I've been doing this since this is my fifth time doing this. What I totally forgot to do is to turn off my phone, but that's all right. Sometimes that's what this Bold Move Challenge is about, just going on to do things so you can learn things as you go on. Well, let's talk about this Bold Move Challenge, right? So I started this about 5 weeks ago. And what is the test drive series? It's about me making a bold move by hosting this live cast, right? And I'm giving myself to November 2nd. Why? Because the week after that, I'm going on vacation, but I'm giving myself time to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Sometimes it takes a bold move to be able to get to that place where you're saying, I don't know how everything's going to turn out, but it's okay. I'm just going to move forward and take a bold chance. And so the question I have for you concerning the Bold Move Challenge is that if you were to take a bold move, make a bold move, and take a chance and move forward, what would that look like? By November 2nd, how would your life change? How would your career change? How would your relationships change if you started today? So if you want to join me on the Bold Move Challenge, definitely use #BoldMoveChallenge. And I'm looking, I'm searching to see if people are posting with that, because I will definitely use it. I'll definitely use it for the next topic. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. So what I also wanted to do is that what I've noticed that with this Bold Move Challenge, that I've gained some wisdom from week to week. And really it's about doing, right? It's not about saying you want to do things, right? It's about becoming the very thing that you want to do. And so with this, I've gained some wisdom, and I thought I wanted to share this because I wonder how many other people are, maybe they're not sharing. Maybe you're not sharing that you're doing a bold move challenge. Maybe you're just doing this secretly, to yourself. And that's fine, right? Because God says that whatever is done in secret will come to the light in due time. So, hey, but these are the things that I've learned, and I wanted to share this because I just thought it was just so powerful. As I'm going from week to week with this live cast, I'm learning so much about myself, right? And some of the things that's very sobering, right? Because we're talking about leading with love today, right? If we're talking about leading with love, what does love look like? And for me, it's allowing myself to rest in knowing. What is that? What does that mean? Rest in knowing, right? Because I have a capital there. So knowing the truth, the higher truth in this life, right? Because even though I have desires and there's things that I want to do, really those desires did not come from me. It's coming from a higher calling. God wanting to be able to use me as a vessel to encourage others. I rest in that knowing who I am, because when I know who I am, I'm able to find the strength to move forward, to move on, to make the decisions, that sometimes the tough decisions that we have to make in life, right? And so where did this come to me? Allow myself to rest in knowing, because every week I find that, I can prepare as much as I want to. By the time that I record, I say some things. And after I say these things, I start questioning, like, where is this coming from? Or what does this really mean? Because I said it came out, but now what does it mean? And what God has been telling me through this bold move challenge, right? Because it's about taking a bold move, about knowing who you are so that you can make these bold moves and find the life that you're looking for. But it takes a bold move. So I have to allow myself to rest in knowing who I am, knowing the truth of who I am. I am a child of God. That's what I talked about last week. And I'm going to talk about it again today, because that's who I am. When I know who I am, I'm able to rest in the knowing that everything is going to work out. Why? Because I know who I am. And if I belong to God, how can anything not turn out right? Everything is always good, right? Like every creation that God has created, God always looked at it and said, it's good. So I need to allow myself to rest in that knowing. It's good. It's good. And so this has been something that is really, a wisdom that I've picked up, like a journey, a nugget along my journey, right? So the second, words come to me as needed. See, here's another thing about this live cast, right? Because, and I think I'm not alone. Anybody who prepares presentations, or especially when you're going to work with people in a very transformative way, it doesn't matter how much preparing you do. It's really not about your intelligence, right? It's really not about your intelligence. It's really about the love that is working within you, right? And sometimes, and the thing about love is that love is a spirit. Love is not intellectual. And so words will come to you as needed, because there's a feeling. There's a feeling that I have to tap into. There's a feeling in every moment. Words will come to me as needed. Stop preparing everything. Everything is not intellectual. Sometimes you can't, if you're trying to meet someone, reach someone, right? Because we're talking about leading with love. If you're trying to really transform and be someone who is a miracle in someone else's life, sometimes you can't prepare too much. Sometimes you just have to surrender to this feeling of love and allow the words to come to you as needed. The right words will come in its divine timing. And that's something that, I've been learning from my bold move, my bold move challenge. So far, fifth week, I am celebrating that. That's a big deal for me, right? It's a big deal for me because God is showing me so much. Because sometimes we get caught up in the things that we're doing, and it's not about the things we're doing. It's about what we're learning while we're doing, who we're becoming while we're doing. And what God is showing me, just Tracy, allow the words to come to me as needed. And so I'm going to share this message with you too as a leader. Don't worry about having it all thought out, right? When you are connecting through the power of love with another person, it's not about it's not about being so intellectual, using the biggest words out of the dictionary. Sometimes use the words as they come to you. Because when you're working with people, the right words will come that will touch that person, right? Because that person will bring it. You'll get out of your own way and feel the words that you're supposed to use to say, because the other person is going to pull it out of you because that's what they need from you, right? So words will come to me as needed. That's what I got, from week to week. So connect with the feeling. Yeah, so this one was something. Connect with the feeling. That means allow yourself to feel it. See, we live in a world today where we are just constantly moving, right? We go from one thing to the next, one thing to the next, one thing to the other. Rush. I gotta hurry. What happens is that when we're not present, we're not allowing that feeling, because God is always sharing his love with us. Like, that is constant. That never changes. That never stops. And so sometimes you might feel a little tired, a little exhausted. It's because you're cutting yourself off from that love, right? But what would it feel like if you allowed yourself to connect with that feeling, right? You'd have to be present. Be present so you connect with that feeling of love, that feeling that rejuvenates, that washes from the inside out, cleanses you, gives you strength. When I say cleanse you, it means cleanse your mind from all the negativity you've been going throughout the day. Sometimes where you sit, you might sit next to somebody who gossips constantly, or people who are negative constantly. It's so much. But if you're able to connect with that feeling of love, that will supersede everything. That will trump everything. That will guide you. That will show you how you're looking at things differently, or maybe you're looking at things in an unfavorable way. But connecting with that feeling is what gives us strength, what renews our strength, what renews our mind, right? So connect with the feeling. See, these are things that I had to pick up. And here's the thing, it's because you hear this all the time, right? You might hear it from somebody else. You might hear it, and sometimes it comes off as a cliche. But when you embody this thing, when you embody the Bold Move Challenge, when you say, I am ready to believe in the power that works in me, right? Because here's the thing, and it's funny because I've heard this so many times, but it really rung true for me over the weekend, from one episode to the next, right? We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Did you hear that? Let me say it again. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Now, this is nothing new. This has been said plenty of times. But oh my gosh, it really rang true. It really resonated within my soul. Because allow myself to rest in knowing, right? Because that was number one. Allow myself to rest in knowing. It's because I got to know who I am. I am a child of God. And if I'm a child of God, right? If I'm a child of God, then I know that I am a spiritual being first. Ooh, that is so deep. Well, deep for me, deep for my soul. But I am a spiritual being first. That means that I am a child of God. That means I have to get to that place first. In order to get to that place, I have to connect with the feeling, because I'm so much more than this human experience. This human experience we have is a gift, right? But how can I be impactful in this gift the way that God would have me be, or the energy of love, right? Because it doesn't matter what name we apply to it, because that's our humanness. That's our human beingness that gets caught up in all these labels and groups, and that's that group and that's that group. That's the human experience. God is love. That's all God is. God is just love. That's it. Never changes, will never change, will be that forever and forevermore. Love. When you can connect with that feeling, you don't see division. You see the glory of God. You see the beauty of life. You see how it's different. You see the contrast. You see the up and down, but because you see the up and down together, it's beautiful. Connect with that feeling, because you are a spiritual being first. right? Like and that's what God's been telling me, right? Connect with that. You're wondering, Tracy, you're wondering how you're going to do this, how you're going to do that. Connect with me. Connect with me. Allow me to be glorified within you. And then here's the thing, then you won't worry about what you need to do, right? Because that's why faith is so important, right? Because you have to allow yourself to submit, to surrender to that power of love and allow love to lead you. Because love is leading you. Love is leading you in the right places. But because you can't see love for what it is, you see love for what you are, how you are. And then you judge love and say, oh, love is bad. Why? Because maybe you resonate with some bad within you, within yourself, right? God is love. That is all God is. And when we know who we are, we can rest in that knowing and connect with that feeling and tend to the things of God first, tend to the spiritual things, tend to that energetic part of ourselves. Because that's, my goodness, I get caught up in that. But that's where this chaos in the world, this tension is coming from, because we do not know who we are. If we all would know who we are, we would all humble us. We would all humble ourselves, and we would just get to the place where we just be still and be quiet and just tap into that love, connect with that feeling of love, because God is a spirit, and that's the only way you can worship God, right? Like that's what it says in the word. Like God is a spirit. So those that worship God must in spirit and truth. So even if you say, I don't believe in God, okay, fine. Let's say you just believe in the universe, whatever, because only humans are caught up in labels, not God. God is love. Right? Connect with that. Connect with that. Connect with that. All right. So next one before I get all caught up. The message is always for me first. My gosh, my gosh. The message is always for me first. And see, and it's funny because what God is showing me through that is that that's the way it is for everybody. Everybody. We all do that. Like, and the thing about it is that we think that when we have a message and we share it with somebody else, or we project our judgment on other people, other things, situations that we know nothing about, that message is for you first. So if you really listen to how you judge people, how you come up with your content, you realize that the message is for you first. So be careful, right? Because it's always about you. It's always about us. The world is our mirror, each and every single one of us. It's about us. It's about us, getting to the place where we're bold enough to be vulnerable enough to allow the love of God to enter into our lives. And remember, we talked about this last week. Love is not, I'm not talking about this romantic way of talking about love, right? Because we talk about it in that sort of ways because it's a human way of looking at it. But the God love that brings everyone together, that unites, that's constantly growing, building, nurturing, expanding, uplifting, encouraging, just feeding, nourishing, just building up constantly. When you're able to speak through that message, right? Like when you're able to come through that, my gosh. See, because I'm so invested in this message of love, right? Like, because God has it's just so strong in me, right? Like, to lead with love, that is so important. It's so important to me. I'm so caught up with it. Like, I'm just passionate about that. How do we lead with love? How do we become examples of God's love here on this earth? Right? Let me show you this real quick. Let's see, 19:4. I still got a few more minutes. Right? I look at this, right? And God showed me this, right? Like, brought this to my remembrance. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. How can you see division here? Do you see division here? How can you do you see a sect of people? Do you see a group of people? Do you see that, or do you just see a ball of magnificence? I mean, it is just brilliant. Isn't that brilliant? We all live in this earth. We all share this same space, but we don't act like it. We act like one is better than the other. And that's why I say, like, God has this thing so rigged, right? Like God has it mapped out perfectly that even in our own delusions, it's still right. Everything is right about this world, right? Everything is right about God. It's just that we don't see. God is love. God is always love, right? So the message is always for me first, right? It's always for me. I'm talking about leading with love. And it's like, Tracy, are you leading with love? Love for yourself, love for myself. Am I leading with love for myself? Because that's where it is. That's where it is. So it's not that people will reject us. It's that we self-reject. We reject ourselves before anybody even has a chance to get to know us, the real us. Lead with love. Love yourself for who you are, because it goes back to knowing who you are. That's truth. We are all offsprings of the Most High, whatever it is, the most powerful, the one, the only. We are offsprings of that. When you know who you are truly, how can you not love yourself? And not the human being, not love the human being side of yourself. I'm talking about the spiritual being side of yourself, because that's what God is looking for right now, right? Like always and forever, true worshipers. What are true worshipers? Those that'll worship God in spirit and truth, because you know that God is a spirit. You know that you have to come to God through spirit, in the spirit of love. God recognized his own, because each of us has an image of God. We all have an essence of God's love within us. So God sees you. God knows who you are. You just don't know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, you can't lead in love. You can't be, because you can't tap into the real love, that the love of God, not the love of this human experience that we're all having, that we're all co-creating within. It's a hot mess, isn't it? It's a hot mess, because people will have you think that God is about division. God is not about division. Especially with elections coming up in November, people are going to get nasty. And then they're going to put God's name in it. God is about this. God is against you. No, God is love. If you're not talking about God's love, you are not of God. It's simple as that. You read the Bible, right? Because some people will be like, well, where does it say that? Open up the Bible, read it for yourself. Or if you say, well, I don't read the Bible, well, life will show you. If you don't be love, you won't receive love. You'll have the fake love. People will think that you have it all, but you know deep down that you don't have it. You're still missing. There's a void. There's an emptiness. The only thing that will fill it is God's love. It's purposely done that way. Purposely done that way. No other, nothing. I don't care what you come up with. Whatever you try to invent to come up with it, you try to stuff that hole will just swallow it up and show you that nothing. The only thing that's meant to fill that void that you feel is God's love, not religion, right? Like, and I'm so careful to say that, not religion, because religion is the human experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So when we get caught up in the human experience of things, we add our humanness to things and we just mess it all up, because it has nothing to do with the things of God. When you lead with love, God's love, you allow God's love to fill that void. You lead from a place that is powerful, not powerful in the sense of force powerful that you glorify God. You glorify the energy of love. And when you lead from that place of glorifying love, my gosh, everyone that comes by you will be like, oh my gosh, there's something about you. What is it? You won't have to speak. Words don't matter here, because God is a spirit, so it'll be about a spirit. Everything is done through the spirit, right? In the word, it says, not by my might, not by my power, but by my spirit. It's always by his spirit, right? There was a prophet in the Bible, right? Where it was like thunder and earthquake, and God wasn't in any of that. God was in what? In that still voice, in that quietness. It's that spirit, because God doesn't speak. We speak as human beings. We speak. God doesn't speak. God is a spirit. God is a spirit. Love is a spirit. And once you embody love, see, we're talking about the bold life here, right? The bold life is being able to be bold enough to be vulnerable enough, because it's not easy. It's not easy to show people who you really are. It's not easy to take off your mask. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's not easy. And especially when you want to be someone that connects with people, like wholeheartedly, just connect the way that God would want us to connect with each other, right? Because if 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, that means the power of love can show up in every situation if people would just come together in the spirit of love, right? But sometimes it's not easy to take off that mask because society will have you feel like you've got to be tough. You can't be caring about everything. You can't be caring about everything. You got to be tough. You got to tell people what we stand for. Order. When really it's not all that. It's the love of God. It's the love of God. Like, you're like, well, Tracy, I'm going through this. I'm dealing with this right now. You don't understand. You know what? I get what you're saying. Love is not going to pay the bills. It still doesn't change the fact that you have to know who you are, because when you know who you are, you won't make certain comments, right? Like, you won't say things because you can tell when people do not want to lead with love, and they will have an excuse to come up with any excuse to not lead with love. You know what? They'll try to come, they'll say anything. Well, love is not paying my bills right now. I got bills. Well, love is not doing this right now. Love is not. Yeah. Okay. I can't argue with that because that's a human being argument, right? That's a humanness argument. You can't inject the things of God and think that you're going to be able to have a conversation about the spiritual things mixed up in the human things, in the human beingness things. Like, it just won't work. Because when you know who you are without a shadow of a doubt, faith comes in. Faith comes in, and faith says, you know what? We don't know, but we will go on to know. It's like, I don't know, but I know that I don't know because God knows. So therefore, I'm all right with not knowing. That's faith. Like, I'm all right because I know, because God said it's good, that I don't have to doubt anything. So I'm just going to tap into this love because God said that He's love, and therefore I'm love, and I have to know who I am. And if I know who I am, then I can tap into that being. And when I tap into that being, then everything else becomes non-existent, because then I realize that it doesn't really have power over me, that I have power over it, because it's the power of love, because the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Everything belongs to God. And if God said it's good, God is not a man that He should lie, neither the son of man that He should repent. Like, if He said He's going to do it, shall He not do it? And shall it not be good? Of course it's going to be good. So if God says it's time to come, know who you are, know who you are, know who you are. Lead with love. Lead with love. See, I got 2 minutes because I like to talk. See? Okay. And that's all right. We're going to take this off. And then I guess the last question I have for you to think about it. What updates, insights do you have? Have you been going from week to week? Have you noticed anything? Anything new, anything different? Because here's the thing, God is always talking to you every day, every moment of the day. But it's about being present to the love of God, allowing yourself to feel that love, because that love is within you. What woke you up this morning, right? What got you up in your right mind? Hopefully you had a right mind, right? But what got you up in your right mind? Like, what's beating your heart? How do you know when to breathe, when not to breathe, when to breathe out, when to breathe in, when to breathe out? How do you know all of that stuff? Because the power of God that's working in you. You just let it do those things, but you don't let it do the other things. If it can do that, my gosh, it can take care of everything. Is there anything too hard for God? Love is not. Love is not. All right, so I'm going to end it now because it's about, the end of, it's the end, beginning of the hour, 12. My gosh, get the words out, Tracy. But, so, I'm going to leave you with that and just say, how do you define life? Like, after listening to all of this, think about that, because sometimes you don't have a quick answer. It's not about giving your answer right away, right? Sometimes it's about thinking about it, taking some time to really think about it. How did this resonate with you? How did it land for you? Know for yourself. Don't know for me. Right? Because I am not your God, right? Commune with God. Question. If something has irritated you, something has touched you in a way, God is talking to you, and God has a message. God can speak directly to you, right? Like God can speak directly to you through you, because there is nothing too hard for God, and God has put the word in our hearts. And so, okay, let me get out of here because I will go on forever. But here, with love, clarity, and confidence, may you be bold. My gosh, be you. Be you. Thanks for watching.